Today we're working on lesson 18, distance on the coordinate plane. So we'll be finding distance between two ordered pairs on the coordinate plane. The classwork opening exercise, we're going to be putting some notes in our math journal tomorrow. So we're going to do this, something similar to this in our math journal. So for today's lesson, we're going to start with example 1. So it says the distance between points on an axis. Consider the points -4, 0 and 5, 0. What do the ordered pairs have in common? And what does that mean about their location in the coordinate plane? Well, if we look at those 2 points right away, we've talked about this several times. What we notice is that they have the same y-coordinate. So we say both of their y-coordinates are 0. So each point lies on the x-axis. So that would be what they have in common. How do we find the distance between two numbers on the number line? So this is going back to the number line, remembering that the x-axis is a number line and the y-axis is also a number line. X-axis is our horizontal number line through the coordinate plane, and the y-axis is our vertical number line through the coordinate plane. So when we find distance between two numbers on the number line, we use the same strategy here as we do on the coordinate plane. So we're going to review that. So what we did is we calculated the absolute values of the numbers, which told us how far the numbers were from 0, so that distance from 0. If numbers are on opposite sides of 0, we add their absolute values together. If they are on the same side of 0, we subtract the values. So that same strategy that we used on the number line, we're going to use on the coordinate plane. So it says use the same method to find the distance between -4, 0 and 5, 0, that same point that we had at the beginning. So the way that we do this is we look at what it has in common, and we notice that the y-coordinates are in common. We also notice that this is a -4 and a +5. So when you're looking at the two coordinates that are not the same, so again, my zeros are the same y-coordinate. My x-coordinate is -4 for this ordered pair and 5 for this ordered pair. If one of the coordinates is negative and the other one positive, that means they are on the opposite side of 0. So to find the distance between these 2 points, I first find the absolute value of -4, and I know the absolute value of -4 is 4. I find the absolute value of 5, and the absolute value of 5 is 5. So because the numbers are on opposite sides of 0, and I know that because we had a negative and a positive. So that means they're on opposite sides of 0. That means they'd be on opposite sides on the number line. Because they are on opposite sides of 0, I will add to find the distance. So 4 plus 5 equals 9. So that means the distance is 9 units. So find the absolute value of both numbers. If the numbers are on opposite sides of 0, we add to find the distance. 4 plus 5 is 9, so the distance is 9 units. Okay. Consider the line segment with endpoints 0, -6, and 0, -11. So we're first going to look, like it says, at what the ordered pairs of the endpoints have in common, and what does that mean about the line segment's location in the coordinate plane. So they've drawn a line from 0, -6 to 0, -11, and we're going to need to find the distance, or how long that line is. We use the same strategy. Here we notice that 0 and 0 match, so they have the same x-coordinate. But we also notice that their y-coordinates are both negative numbers. That means they're going to sit on the same side of 0. So our strategy for finding the distance is different. So let's look at the answer to this. What do the ordered pairs of the endpoints have in common, and what does that mean about the line segment's location in the coordinate plane? Well, the x-coordinates are both 0, so the points lie on the y-axis. If its endpoints are on the vertical number line, then the segment is on the vertical number line. So that's just telling us where the segment is, that it is on the vertical number line because both these points are on the vertical number line. So the next question says, find the length of the line segment described by finding the distance between its points, 0, -6, and 0, -11. So what I know is that I'm first going to have to find the absolute value of the points. So the absolute value of -6 is 6, and the absolute value of -11 is 11. Now, the points sit on the same side of 0. They're both negative because they are both negative. So that means we're going to subtract to find the absolute value. So I will subtract. To find the distance or the length. So on the first one, we were finding the length between, or I'm sorry, the distance between 2 points. This is the length of the line segment. It's the same strategy. So I'm going to take 11 minus 6 equals 5. So that tells me that the length of the line segment is 5 units. Okay, turn the page to example 3. Length of a horizontal or vertical line segment that does not lie on an axis. So it says consider the line segment with endpoints -3, 3 and -3, 5. So we're looking at this point. We don't see a 0 in any of our coordinates. So when they say that it does not lie on an axis, that's what they're meaning, that it doesn't sit on the exact vertical number line, the y-axis, or the x-axis, the horizontal number line. This is going to sit in the coordinate plane. So we look at what we have in common. It says, what do the endpoints, which are represented by the ordered pairs, have in common? And what does that tell us about the location of the line segment on the coordinate plane? Well, what we notice is that both the x-coordinates are -3. So it tells me it's going to sit on that line. What we notice are different coordinates are y-coordinates. This y-coordinate is +3. This y-coordinate is -5. Now I know if these two coordinates have opposite signs, then already they sit on different sides of 0. So if you think about the number line, 3 would be on the right of 0, positive, and -5 would be to the left. Or if we're talking about the vertical number line, the y-axis, 3 would be above 0, -5 would be below. So both endpoints have x-coordinates of -3. This is what we notice they have in common. So the points lie on the vertical line that intersects the x-axis at -3. So that tells us that that's where those points are going to sit. The next question says, find the length of the line segment by finding the distance between its points. So again, we're going to do that absolute value. So I know my x-coordinates are the same, -3, -3. So I'm looking at the absolute value of the y-coordinates. This ordered pair's y-coordinate is 3, and this ordered pair's y-coordinate is -5. So if I'm finding the length of the line segment, I first find the absolute value. So the absolute value of 3 is 3 because I want to know that distance. The absolute value of -5 is 5. Now, once I know the absolute values, I have to decide whether I'm going to subtract or add. If the points have opposite signs, if they sit on opposite sides of 0, then I'm going to add to find the length. If they sit on the same side of 0, I'm going to subtract. These original points had opposite signs, +3, -5. So I need to add. So I'm going to say the endpoints are on opposite sides of 0. I will add the absolute values. Three plus 5 equals 8. So the length of the line segment is 8. Units. Okay, for the exercises, we'll do the first few together, and then I'll ask you to pause, try the last two, and check your work. So it says find the lengths of the line segments whose endpoints are given below. Explain how you determine that the line segments are horizontal or vertical. So we look at -3, 4, and -3, 9. The first thing we notice is they have the same x-coordinate of -3. The next thing we notice is that our y-coordinates are both positive, and that they are, so they would sit on the same side of 0. So we say x-coordinates are -3. Then we go ahead and find the absolute value. The absolute value of 4 is 4. Absolute value of 9 is 9. The numbers are on the same side of 0, so subtract 9 minus 4 equals 5. The line segment is 5 units. Okay, so that's how we find the units of length when both coordinates are on the same side of 0. 2, -2, and -8, -2. Here we notice that our y-coordinates are the same, -2, -2. Our x-coordinates are opposites. We have a +2 and a -8. Are those going to sit on the same side of 0 or the opposite side of 0? Hopefully you were thinking the opposite side of 0, because this is a +2 and a -8. So x-coordinates are -2. Numbers are on the opposite sides of 0, so they must be added. So since those x-coordinates are on the opposite side of 0, you must add the absolute values. So absolute value of 2 is 2. Absolute value of -8 is 8. 8 plus 2 equals 10. The line segment is 10 units. C, ordered pair -6, -6, and -6, 1. Which coordinates do you notice are the same? Right, the x-coordinates are -6. What do you notice about the y-coordinates? Hopefully you notice that you have a negative and a positive. This is a -6 and a +1. So we say y-coordinates are -6, and I just put same in parentheses, or x-coordinates, I'm sorry, are -6. Y-coordinates are on opposite sides of 0, so they must be added. So we find those absolute values. Absolute value of -6 is 6. Absolute value of 1 is 1. 6 plus 1 is 7. So the segment is 7 units. For D and E, I would like for you to do the same thing. So pause the video, try D and E on your own, and then check your work. Okay, hopefully you tried D and E on your own, so you have some practice doing this on your own and checking your work before you do the exit ticket. So letter D, -9, 4, and -4, 4. We notice 4 are coordinates in common. -9, -4 sit on the same side of 0. So we say same y-coordinates. We find the absolute value of -9 is 9. Absolute value of -4 is 4. They sit on the same side of 0. 9 minus 4 is 5, and the segment is 5 units. Last one, E. 0, -11 is our first ordered pair, and 0, 8 is our second ordered pair. So again, we notice they have these are going to sit on the axis because their x-coordinate is 0. So we know x-coordinates are 0. Absolute value of -11 is 11. Absolute value of 8 is 8. And they sit on opposite sides of 0. So what does that tell me I need to do? Right, I need to add. So 11 plus 8 is 19, and the segment is 19 units. If you've come to this point in the lesson, raise your hand for me to check your work, and I'll hand you the exit ticket.